Hello there, and welcome to another Villa Veracino SWTOR Andor spoiler chat stream, where we talk about the most recent episode of Andor, um, and just get stuck into all the spoiler chats, keeping it off social media, and just having a bit of fun in SWTOR while we do it.
Indeed, today we're going to be running through some missions on the planet of Rishi. No particular reason, except for they contribute to some of the weekly quests that we're committed to doing in the game. But I guess it's going to appear to be a little bit of a different backdrop to some of the planets we've played on in recent weeks, for what that's worth. And we're going to start off with a flashpoint here. So a long, continuous set of objectives that hopefully we can do pretty much on autopilot as we talk about that episode of Andor, episode 11, one more episode to go this season. It's building up to something really, really big. Should we jump on in?
Yep. It's been a while since I've done this flashpoint, but it's one that I enjoy. It was one that was kind of a common one to farm as a group back in the day when it was brand new, so I played it a lot back then. So this week's objectives have a list of different flashpoints to do, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to jump in and play this one again.
Nice opening cutscene, so.
Yeah. Yeah. For the sake of getting stuck into the action, I just had to skip through those opening cutscenes.
Yeah.
Not too much there. We're not too focusing on the storyline of this one. So, this episode of Andor, it was one of those ones, like the start of each of the sort of the story arcs with this series, we weren't really sure where the story was going to go, which is kind of interesting.
There's a bit of everything. In the end, I think it's part of that answer.
Yeah. So
back on Ferrex.
We've got several threads in this series that we're all sort of like. It's interesting seeing how each one's progressing. Sometimes we get a little bit, sometimes we get a lot each episode. We didn't get a lot of ISB and Deirdre in this episode, but we got a little bit more of Cyril Khan. We got some more of Ferrex, and of course Andor himself.
There's not a lot of ISB, but there was a little bit there talking to the Imperials on Ferrex, basically telling them to let the funeral go ahead.
Yes.
That's the big plot point we'll come cycle back to. Super cool to see Liz and Raoul in the wild and talking to Forest Worker again.
Yeah, it was fun to see him again. I wasn't sure when they get a character like that, whether we'll just get sort of like a brief cameo scene or whether they will be quite integral to the sort of progression of the storyline. I figured that we had to see him at least once more because there was a section of conversation dialogue from the trailer that we had not yet seen, which we saw in this episode.
Yeah.
Where Forrest Whitaker's Saul Guerrero says, "Let's call it war."
Yeah, what was interesting, I mean, in the context of that was him coming around to Luthen's plan, basically, to sacrifice, what's his name, Krieg?
Anton Krieger?
Krieger, to the, sacrificing him to the ISB, basically, in order to keep the ISB plant hidden.
Yeah. They have inside information and they know that acting on the information would let the Empire know that they have got a mole on the inside.
Yeah. And they want to keep that quiet for a couple of reasons. One is to protect them so they can keep using them, but they do want to embolden the ISB. I think that's part of the strategy at this point, because that makes them probably less cautious. He said if they think that their information has been intercepted, then they'll be perpetually looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
They'll be paranoid, and he specifically said in the same way that Saul Guerrero is paranoid, and that that will make them do Rebel Alliance things, challenging, complex.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can kind of understand that point of view, but they're certainly playing on the fact that it means sacrificing a team of 30 to further the establishment of the Rebel Alliance in that way.
One interesting thing that we got, it was a short scene, but we saw, is it Binks? Sort of being interrogated, and we find out that the Imperials think that the sort of the a linchpin that they are calling Axis, who we know is Luthen Rail, the one that she was having sort of connection with, they are under the perhaps, I don't know, guesswork that is Anton Rail, Anton Krieger.
And that's because he is in the forefront of their attention.
Yeah.
They've just intercepted the supplies that were going to him.
Yeah.
So he's the most active, rebel member on their radar at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of makes sense.
And perhaps Luthen is aware of that. If he knows that the Imperials are on his trail, maybe he kind of wants him taken out.
I think they've got to win,
yeah. But he's sort of like, he's exposed, he's known, so he's not an asset to the rebels anymore. At least from not their sort of secretive viewpoint where they're being like everything has to be completely covert.
No, you're right on that point. I think the sacrifice of and still don't know the exact combination of syllables in his name. His sacrifice will mislead the ISB in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, they think they're crushing the rebellion, but they're just.
But I think Axis has been taken off the board for now.
Yeah.
Which is again the Sorceror and Luthen freedom to move a little bit more.
They want to
really
be
complex.
I think he really wants to be where he's basically controlling the chessboard. Because we see the way that he wants to manipulate the Empire. He wants to push them. He knows how they'll react if they do something. And I think he really wants to be the one in control, sort of master manipulator in the sort of game of chess.
That's really interesting.
Sort of a rebel version of Palpatine, almost.
Yeah. It's getting quite complex in terms of Val and Claire back in the shop. They're a little bit adversarial. Yeah. And it's also extremely complex to know exactly when Mon Mothma's role is going to ramp up. And
she's been mostly
service.
separate, with the exception of is it Val?
Yeah.
She's the one sort of connecting point. And we saw them as sort of as Mon Mothma sort of confiding in her just how sort of desperate her situation is, and sort of hinting at the lengths she's potentially sort of going to go.
Focus on the Wookiee first, though.
I don't think it matters too much, not at this level.
So the goings on Ferrix are interesting. It's sad, but I think it was kind of a good story move to have Marva pass away off screen.
Yes. That wasn't sort of too brutal. Her health was sort of referenced in the previous one where she talked about the doctor's already been. I thought it was kind of well done having it almost told by the droid's perspective. We hear the people talking.
Response.
Well, we sort of see his eye, and we hear the people sort of talking in the background, as if he's sort of coming to terms with it, and you kind of get that sort of, like where the whole world goes quiet, you're not really sort of hearing things around you because you're trying to absorb the information, which was a really sort of interesting viewpoint to take something like that. We love the droids in Star Wars. They have a lot of personality, but yeah, I thought it was a really interesting sort of take But we know he is attached to his humans, in the way that we've seen him sort of interact with them in previous episodes. So I thought it was really sweet.
He's an anxious droid. He relies on the strength of humans around him.
Yeah. Well, he's not a particularly sort of adept at like fighting back or anything like that. He's clearly just, sort of home duties and companionship and stuff.
It's just a companion book. We've got Jalari and David in chat, so welcome guys. Thanks for signing in.
Hey,
once
great
again.
to see you.
So yeah, the laser beams on Luthor's ship. Yeah, that whole scene was awesome.
Yeah.
Showing the equipment he had. And
yeah, well, we know that just how paranoid they are. That if he was going to have some really interesting sort of James Bond style tactical maneuvers up his sleeves, should he ever sort of get in a sticky situation. So that was really fun to see. Like, I knew that shot was in the trailer. I don't think I'd actually like. I guess once a show started, I don't like to go back and watch the trailer, just in case you suddenly sort of put two and two together, or because you've got more information having watched it. So I think it was interesting that I didn't actually go back and go, oh yeah, that's actually his ship being chased by TIE fighters. But that was a really cool. Like once the TIE fighters launched, I was like, oh, is that going to be that moment for the trailer? Like I kind of remembered it, but it was kind of fun, like in the moment, not. But I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, well, I was waiting for that shot because I'm a big fan of the alternative. I mean, that was a concept Star Destroyer. It was based on the Colin Campbell concept art, and I like his work. He did a lot of the foundational, along with Rock McQuarrie, sort of stylistic designs for the original trilogy. It's always fun when they make use of that sort of material, make it canon. And this worked well. It was kind of a scout. It was a large vessel, but it was primarily patrol, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't a full-size Star Destroyer, but it's equipped for long-range scanning and so forth. But it was really neat seeing the Imperials on board, seeing the Stormtroopers, and
again, not really putting the Stormtroopers front and center. They were kind of, in the background. They weren't very visible on screen. You knew that they were there, but they're not the focus, which is really interesting. They're kind of always just not quite putting Stormtroopers right at the forefront.
So jumping around, just talking about Imperials and Imperial vehicles, we saw Andor and Melshi make it to the shoreline and climbing up the cliff. They were dodging the
TIE Reaper, is it?
Vessels. Yeah, Reaper from
from Rogue One, which was really fun to see. I know, that there's always a sort of balance that particularly when you're doing a show that connects so directly to another piece of Star Wars media, and you don't want to put in too many Easter eggs because then it just becomes sort of too gimmick. But you also want to keep enough connection, so that it feels grounded and properly connected to Rogue One. So I liked seeing that sort of Rogue One era TIE fighter sort of flying over. Gosh, I felt nervous for them though, hanging onto the side of the cliff. I thought they might have gotten to a little bit more of a safety when we saw them sort of running at the end of the previous episode, and then I was like, oh my gosh, they're definitely still.
Yeah. Well, they had to find a way to get off planet. It's complicated. So the way that story played out is they encountered some locals who are not enamored with the presence of the Empire by the sound of things.
Yeah.
They seem to be contaminating the waters.
Yeah.
It was a little bit hard to follow their exact speech patterns, but that's what I took from it on the whole.
Yeah, I want to watch that episode, the episode again with the subtitles on, to catch that a little bit more clearly. But the plot point was they were going to try and steal the ship. They kind of got stopped and found that they were actually willing to help them take them somewhere, which was Which was a relief. I was really worried about how that was all going to play out. I was like, I don't want to see, because we know Andor is willing to use deadly force when push comes to shove, but he doesn't have any weapons on him at this point. So I was like, I don't want to see him like just, you know, kill some random people. I thought that was a good resolution to that problem.
Yeah, and we're slowed it down. We've been a distraction. It was good to have some bit of a challenge. They couldn't just walk up and get a random spaceship. That would be too easy.
That was another fun nod, seeing that sort of similar ship design.
Pod jumper. Well, it kind of, we saw it in action, so it gave us a little more clarity as to that class of ship. It really is just a box with 4 giant engines strapped to it. You can kind of see that, you know, there's just a back door and just a one main cargo hold. So very rudimentary, but enough to get them off planet and then back to his.
I was relieved to see that his money was still there. He had to sneak in because it's because I wasn't sure. They didn't sort of spell it out. Like, was it an apartment? Was it a hotel? Like, where was he staying? But the fact that it's I mean, still, I guess it could have been an apartment, but it gave more of an impression of a hotel room. And his cache was still stashed in the bathroom, so he basically snuck in while the current tenants were sleeping, which was fun to see some aliens in this episode. I know so far the series has been a little light on aliens, so
Tony Gilroy spoke on that in the past week or so in an interview. He said that he's not as familiar with the roles of all the aliens in the galactic politics, and he thought that if he started using characters that he wasn't as familiar with, it would introduce story elements that he wasn't sort of in control of.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to, you know, bring in, you know, species that were sympathetic to or adversarial to the Empire or anything else complicated like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do it wrong. And I know there's a story group to help that sort of thing, but he just, it sounds like a reasonable, you know, just focus on.
Yeah, apart from a few notable exceptions, like at Akbar, but particularly in A New Hope, predominantly the Rebel Alliance is human. And that is sort of the era that we are in, sort of the New Hope era. As they got more money, I guess, as the budget. In Return of the Jedi, we see more aliens. We see Nainam and Akbar and the Moncals and stuff like that, where they could put more, you know, more prosthetics on people.
Once we get to Yavin, I hope we see a bit of that. Twilight's.
Yes. Obviously, when it comes to animation, you can draw whoever you want and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can, like with Rebels, you know, we've got a mix of aliens and with Hera and Zeb. You can kind of, who is still over there? Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get more. Where is the? Oh, there he is. Gosh, he took a bunch of shots. So, I like that it resolved a few sort of, I don't want to call them anxieties, but this show does a good job of sort of making me feel anxious about, you know, the characters. You want to care, you want to make sure, you know, we had Andor and his fellow escapee, and I thought it was interesting that they don't know how many people got out. And to be honest, I thought, oh yeah, it's going to be like a lot of them are going to get out. And then when we saw just how desperate it was for them to evade the Imperials, you know, clinging onto the side of a cliff, there was a lot of people that have been, you know, working in those prisons for years. And they're not necessarily going to be the fittest or capable of going through the sort of the physical trials it's going to take to evade the Imperial capture in such an environment. So I thought it was interesting that they split up. I thought, oh, this is where they meet up and they're going to sort of get to the rebellion together. But when they split up, I was like, well, that makes more sense, I guess, because you don't want to have him sort of tied
Andor's going to go straight back to Ferris at this point.
Yeah.
Despite
Andor's story at this point is far more solo. He's got a lot of connections, but he doesn't have sort of like a trusted companion that's always traveling with him. You know, he isn't a Han Solo with a Chewbacca. So I thought it was good that we didn't, and I think it'd be kind of fun to see if because his friend was very much the galaxy needs to know what's going on, and you can kind of see the sense of injustice that he is feeling.
Yeah, he's got interesting motivation in his own right, which is kind of fun that he's had that little bit of development.
Yeah. So I feel like perhaps he's going to be like the Biggs, where when Andor finally meets up with the rebellion, his friend is already there, having sort of found his own way there, and we sort of get a little bit of the echo of Luke and Biggs getting sort of reunited at a rebel base somewhere. I like the sort of the reminiscent. Sorry, I'll start with Lord Vod. Saw Gerrera's base. It's like hints. It's like a mix of like a Yavin base with his what's the planet? His base in Rogue One, where it's sort of hidden in the rocks and stuff like that.
Jeddah, yeah.
Jeddah, that's the planet. Sorry, my brain was struggling to think of the word.
Nice to see the good old T-65 X-Wings there.
Yeah, parked out the front. Was giving me sort of like the rebel base as we see it in Rogue One, with all the ships sort of parked out the front. But he's still sort of having to be sort of very underground and secret. Oh, these ones are on me.
What other bits? So the other main thing we didn't really talk about was Sil Khan back in the mix.
Yeah. He is.
Talking to the sergeant.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd actually get another sort of hint of him. I thought that was interesting. The one that sort of felt very strongly.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, and he's sort of, I guess, calling him from his workplace.
Yeah, he was in a sense of factories. He made reference to smelting processes, interfering with the comms.
Yeah. But we saw that just the eagerness in Cyril Khan that there might be a chance that Andor would be back on the planet.
So everyone's gonna, everyone's kind of gonna coincide on the planet, kind of independently.
Yeah.
Cyril Khan's chasing Andor independent of the ISB. There's.
I don't know what his game is. I don't know whether he just wants personal. I don't know, revenge from what Cassian sort of did to his life and his career, whether he thinks like he could capture it and somehow earn ultimate favor with the Empire, if he was the one to catch him.
He might even just be going for reinstatement or some sort of policing position.
Whether he thinks if he can prove to them that he's desirable, then they can, like, I don't know, reinstate the pre-war sort of security forces or something. But I hope we get some sort of like an idea about what his motivation is sort of ultimately. We see that he is willing to be sneaky about it. We see the fact that he's basically hiding till his mother leaves and steals money from her. Steals credits from her jewelry drawer. Which is, considering he is so sort of like, I don't know, oh sorry, that was a tick.
One just more funny thing. It's one of the first times I think they pointed out the difference of time zones in the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah.
Because the phone call came through and woke his mother up. And
He was
apologising to his family for calling it.
Yeah. Which you think, across the galaxy there's going to be different time zones, different planets. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
don't know where his story's going to go and whether or not he'll have success because the somebody lost hang up. So the ISP's already got thing control in terms of expecting Andor to turn up.
Yeah, they were sort of like, oh, they're gonna do some funeral, and they're like, no, that's it's a trap. Let's set it up. Let's give them the permissions. We want them to go ahead as normal. We want people to sort of turn up and pay their respects. And I don't know whether they specifically want Andor to show up, or they just think they're just wanting to sort of ensnare more of the sort of the network of people, because they're still convinced, because Bix hasn't given up any information yet. And we don't know what her game is like. When they were interrogating her about Anton, she just kind of like looked at it for a minute and then just kind of like collapses, and we don't know whether that was strategic, whether she's basically like relieved that they don't actually know
could be
who he is, or the fact that they basically said that if we don't trust your answer as truthful, we're gonna torture you again. And I don't know whether she was weighing up whether I say yes, that's him, because she's thinking that's what they want to hear. And that would potentially, they might let her go, or would they kill her if they think they've got confirmation? Does she, is she loyal enough to basically take one for the team and would rather die than give up Luthen Rail and his importance? We know she obviously feels pretty strongly about it, to put herself at so much risk with the secret comms and stuff. You got this one? Your companion's not... Oh, is he fine?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I put mine on passive. Yeah, Jalari points out that, I think because he doesn't have K2SO yet, which, fingers crossed, will come in the next season, they're keeping him sort of solo. He's not tied with a companion, because K2SO will be his companion, and that'll give a very different feel to the next season.
waiting for those guys to show up.
Yeah. These episodes always feel like you can feel the ending coming, and you're like,
you can. They have a specific way of just dwelling on a scene for a moment before that, and you can tell when it's about to end, and there's a little dread there. That's what you're gonna get.
I think that's something I'm still never gonna get quite used to. Is
Star Wars.
Well, you and I grew up with like the movies, so you could really get settled in, because Star Wars movies have never been short.
Yeah,
they're always more than 2 hours.
End to end.
Yeah. But
we don't have to be the same one, do we, for this phase?
No. You just gotta be in one. Getting like settled in and go, new Star Wars. Toombs, did you not click the terminal?
I was trying to get my Nexu back to me.
I can't res you. They've taken away combat res from DPS.
I got distracted because my Nexu was taking us time to get back to me.
Yeah. No, I keep myself up. Okay. I'm gonna put on a right moment because I gotta do this a little bit more strategically. At least Lana's a good healer. I'm gonna have to do the talking while I concentrate on this.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the other bits and pieces. I was kind of surprised at how few people escaped from the prison. Again, Tony Gill, I wasn't the the past week, and he didn't. I don't know if he was just teasing, but he did point out that we we didn't see Andy Serkis's character Kino really die.
No.
That's all he said on that topic. So
I would love to see him in the Rebellion. I want to I don't know. I really like
cool
some
character,
of these new characters.
I'm not sure what his crime was. I'm not sure if he's Rebellion aligned or just anti-Empire. They're not necessarily the same thing. But yeah, I really love I did love the little Wells seeing themselves, seeing all the tech embedded in his ship and the way that he could, the auto cannons.
It felt like he had planned for that specific scenario, or he's gotten out of that specific scenario before, because he knew. He wasn't panicking. He was like, okay, we're going to do this. He was telling his ship exactly what to do. He was like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Yeah. I thought that was kind of fun when, all the, oh, ouch. Yeah, when you sort of looked back and saw all the, basically the shrapnel, taking out. Sorry, I just got to do this for a minute. Oh, my companion is on passive, that's why I'm getting hurt. Yep. That'll help. Oh. Hey, I found your body.
Yeah, I like the fact that his ship basically has a built-in droid companion, built-in autopilot. And he's got it fully equipped for contingencies. Really, I was kind of thinking when hard out, it was kind of, as much as we love the Falcon, it takes a bit of work. It's a little bit of with Rose had it completely under control with his autopilot and his countermeasures in us. Okay, so we're going to set it for this.
Yep.
So another week to the final episode, everything's going to come together. I don't think Andor didn't specifically say he was going to go back to Ferrix, did he? But
no, but we could kind of see it from his reaction.
Yeah, he was heading in a different direction to Malshi, so
yeah.
I mean, that's what we're expecting. That's what
that there's going to be everyone's going to end up back on that starting planet, and we're going to end up with some sort of, I don't know. I feel like it needs to have an epic conclusion. That they can't just kind of build up and up and up, and then it's like, come back next season. I think it has to.
It's all person-to-person conflict that needs to be resolved. We need to resolve the interaction between Luthen and Andor, and between the legal members in Andor, and the interaction obviously between Cyril and Andor and Deidre.
Quick travel to Blaster's Path container.
What's B2's fate going to be? Is he going to stay on the planet, or is he going to go with Andor?
Yeah, I think that would be kind of cute. He's very attached to people he knows, so I think that would be kind of fun.
As David says in chat, what's
I don't know. I don't know whether.
Downstairs, right?
Yep. Yeah, because it's a personal option.
I mean, his story's got to evolve fairly rapidly.
I'm kind of hoping that the daughter and the husband will be like, man, this is like a great match. This would be cool. So that she doesn't feel guilty about it. That they'll basically be like, oh, don't be such like a killjoy or something like that. If they think that she would be against it, because they've been set up to be the sort of people that think that she's basically out to put an end to their fun or something like that. And this might be something that the daughter actively wants. What's that? Oh, okay. So I think that would be an interesting way to resolve it. Is to sort of take the decision out of Mon Mothma's hands. What did you say? Death
yeah, back here as well at the door.
Oh yeah, right at the door, huh?
Yeah, but all up, just she's got to part ways with her family. I guess she can't be at the rebel base with them. I don't think.
No, I don't see them. Going along with her. They seem completely bored by it. But then I don't want them to be dead either.
No, I don't think.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether she basically not necessarily divorces him, but whether she basically runs off.
Or if they find out what she's doing, how anti-Empire she is, whether or not that conflict will come to a head.
Yeah. But it was hard seeing her so stressed. She's sort of on the verge of tears. Yeah.
She's in a lose-lose situation. And I think that's what they're trying to tell us there, is that it's the sacrifices, that the hard decisions that the likes of Luthen and Mon Mothma, and I guess even Sorceror to varying extents, the hard decisions they have to make.
Yeah.
And Luthen spelt it out in terms of the impact on him at a deeply personal level, but I'm kind of seeing it across the board.
I mean, we know that for a lot of these people, they ultimately pay, the ultimate price. We see the ultimate fate for Cassian and Saw Gerrera. We don't know where some of the other new characters that we've been introduced to in Luthen. We know that these are people that are basically, they are prepared to risk their lives. We don't know if we will see them in season 2 or whether we will see them basically put their lives on the line in this final episode or in the Andor series. Sorry, I've got something on my tail here. There we go, let it go.
Yeah, well, frustratingly, the battle against the Empire or the battle against the baddies or the fascists or whatever, it's a perpetual thing in the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah,
There's never a real, I guess between, to a certain extent in that era, just the pre-sequel era, with what's then Prime, is at its prime. There's a little bit of peace, but as the First Order has been established off screen, out of sight, but other than that, subsequent to episode 1, the guys never really went, did they? Not for long.
No.
Constant battle.
Well, I think it's an interesting sort of take on sort of humankind, that there is never just
as a kid, you kind of always wanted to live in a Star Wars universe, but as an adult, you start to realise that the Star Wars universe is pretty sucky.
Oh, my thing's bugged. I've got to do it from my missions. Okay. Yeah, well, I think it's basically, you never just sort of World War II didn't exactly end all conflicts on Earth, there's always going to be.
The only real solution is to sort of lead up the Han Solo lifestyle and just...
Well, DJ, it's like live free, don't join, basically, just basically, do your own thing. Not get involved in the galactic politics. Let's see, go this way.
Which is all of us, still, there's some fun things about Star Wars universe. Wouldn't mind just hanging out and learning about them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if it was too drudgery, then we wouldn't have Galaxy's Edge, because everyone would be like, who wants to go there? It's all like stormtroopers and stuff, Yeah. And, you know, the Force and lightsabers and everything like that. But I feel like there was, a real emotion that I wasn't quite expecting in this episode. Like, I should have seen by the title, Daughter of Ferrix, because we had heard that expression in a previous episode, that it was some sort of like society or sort of organization or something like that, that was referencing his mother, and I should have seen it coming when she was talking about her health, especially since the sort of like previously on segment did a redo of that, showing her sort of coughing. I was like, oh dear. But it was going to take something desperate to get Andor to come back, risk himself. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay, then we're going to go up to Rishi Village.
Yeah, across the water.
Yep. I don't know what Mothma's going to do. I know that I kind of want her to not have to make that decision.
Yeah, but even once that decision's made, we still, what is her path to what we know of her role in the...
Yeah, at this point she's still a senator and she's trying to sort of raise funds and move funds.
And cover the gaps in the ledger,
Yeah. Because we know that, like, the people camping out on Aldani, you know, they were basically having, you know, not exactly being paid, but at least, you know, supplies for that sort of thing. But at some point, there's going to be... We know not exactly Saw Gerrera. We know that there are factions. We know that from Rebels. Okay, I got what I needed.
Yeah, I believe I did too.
Okay. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how much they will show of the sort of the gathering.
This season, you mean?
Well, the show in general, I think.
I think they were going to go all the way by the time we get to season 2. It's just how far we'll go this time around.
Yep.
I think we're going to get a real episode 4 feel out of season 2. But whether or not we'll still just be left a little bit, I don't want to say unsatisfied, but not, you know, still, I think the end of season 1 is still going to be a little bit of a gap. You know?
Yeah, it's not just going to be like, you know, basically vlogging a day of the rebellion or something like that. Oh, they're on you. Are you fighting? Oh,
yeah.
You didn't say.
I'm sorry, my camera's at an angle where I can't see.
Do you have a companion out? Oh.
Yep, she's there. I want to see more of the KX droids. I'm looking forward to K2SO, but I wouldn't mind just seeing more of KX droids
as villains.
Using them in general, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're fun.
I saw some convention pics. I don't remember what convention it was. I think it was in Europe over the weekend, possibly US. I can't remember, but there's a life-size KX droid on one of the displays they had. Like K2SO proper, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's a relatively simple design, but they're not, without the context, without the scenes that were seen of KX droids being menacing, it's not an immediately menacing form.
No, that's what I thought was sort of interesting about him, because, you know, the first introduction, he's not exactly cuddly, not like, you know, like BB-8 or something like that, but he wasn't
No, he's a gangly, misbehaving teenager.
Yeah, he wasn't sort of like, he didn't feel like dangerous or whatever. We're going to quick travel back to Rishi Village.
Yeah. Which once you see them a bit more in endoskeleton mode, they're far more sinister.
Yeah.
Just wrapping up this quest and go back to the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're going to go to Rimalock, who's outside the container as well.
Yeah.
So, quick travel back to Blaster's Path container. I can't believe we've only got one episode left to go.
Yeah. I was a decent length.
David says, one of my faves from K2 was you're being rescued straight after the body slam. Yeah. That was such a very fitting way to introduce us to the character. It was just, yeah, we knew I guess it was kind of funny, like, thinking that one of the first things that we see was basically sort of grabbing her and, slamming her to the ground. But, like, when the K2... KX droid picked up Cassian, it felt like something we hadn't seen, but at the same time, because we just hadn't seen sort of K2SU do it in a really sinister way, he was doing it in a trying to be helpful way.
Yeah, no, I think the ones we've seen, the way they don't really articulate, they don't communicate very clearly, makes him just seem very edgy and unpredictable.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that the Empire still doesn't seem to have put two and two together that was Andor in prison.
Yeah.
They are focusing on... I guess that might have been like too much of like a detective show. Them sort of figuring it out or going through files and sort of matching up pictures or something like that. That we're just sort of skipping over that. And going straight into his mother's passed away, so that's where he's going to be type moment. Which, yeah, I guess it's kind of funny because this whole time the Empire doesn't seem to have been aware of it. Us as viewers are aware of it, but I guess it's kind of showing just how sort of like, I don't know, confident, cocky the Empire is, that they think that they're in complete control, they're manipulating everything, and they literally had somebody and let them slip through their fingers. I think that was kind of an interesting moment without them even sort of realizing it, that they did actually have him.
We should do a couple more little things just to keep the ball rolling.
Yep.
We can go do CZ just for conquest points, or we can go to Hoth or Tatooine and just do 2 more outer rim missions to knock off the distant outer rim.
Let's do Hoth. We haven't done Hoth in a long time.
Yeah. So we can just pick.
Yep. Hoth.
Also, we spent a lot of time on Hoth chasing down world bosses.
Yeah.
Hoth's
now, Brig Stompers is easy. Brig Stompers is a nice easy one to do. I like that one.
Yeah.
Gets you 2 snowblind.
But yeah, some nice familiar elements in that episode in terms of seeing TIE fighters and stormtroopers.
I almost need them to do like a Disney Plus little like featurette of the stuff in Luthen Rail's shop. This is this and that is that. It's that they like put each sort of item in there with like great thought behind it.
Yeah.
And I like those little moments where he was talking to his assistant and they were sort of talking like they were looking for new stuff for the store. I thought that was interesting. We can see just how paranoid but how practiced they are at keeping everything that they do. Where you go?
Just talking in code.
Did you pick up all the quests here?
Yeah, but
okay, then we're just going to go straight to Brick Stompers. Should be at the bottom of your list.
Yeah, that's a bit long. I'll choose something off.
Mm-hmm.
I will go to mission items and brick stompers.
I send Lana to get a crystal.
Talking about why they didn't recognise Andor, it's just they in chat thought the prison workshop being shady, perhaps they really shy so they make details for the sake of deniability.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they're running things is a bit dubious and
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a prison, it was sort of slave labor in a factory. Not that... I guess the Empire's still trying to keep up sort of, I don't know, some sort of appearance that they're trying to instill law and order. That they wouldn't be doing anything sort of shady or illegal.
really, it does leave me wondering if we'll see Kino Lawyer again though.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a long shot based on where the story's gone. The fact that they had TIE Reapers patrolling the whole area for escapees. How much effort Andor and Rishi had to put into just evading them.
Yeah.
I just thought we spent so much time in that prison and there's some fun little characters just, popping out.
Yeah, you're really rooting for them, You want them to all escape. I'm going to leave that one random dude walking. Come over here. I really do hope the final is more than 45 minutes. I know that that's always a bit of an ask, but because they seem to be pretty good about making final episodes of these shows about the same length. We never get like bonus length episodes for the finals for any of these live action shows. It's like, I don't know. I guess you always like when you know the end's coming, you're just like, come on, just give us like a few more minutes. It's going to be ages before we get more of this again.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the nature of the business. You make it feel like everything's building up to a major climax, and it kind of feels like you need an awful lot to resolve it all. As long as they resolve it, I guess I'll be happy in a good way.
I'm hoping we don't end up on a cliffhanger. I'm hoping... like, some threads to connect, but not like an absolute cliffhanger.
I know we're getting a lot of time jumps in season 2. I don't know how much of a time jump between season 1 and 2 there will be.
Yeah.
If there's a little bit of a gap, then it doesn't need to be a right on the edge cliffhanger.
Okay. Let's do joint training. Second one.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the long ones that's taking up a lot of my screen real estate.
Yeah. So I figured. I want to know more about, and my brain is not helping me at the moment, the Luthen Rail's assistant.
Yeah, Claire.
Or accomplice. What's that, sorry?
Yeah, Claire.
Yeah.
We were saying later.
When Val was basically like, what have you done lately? And she was like, I'm always doing something. It's not like, not like keeping score or something like that. Like, she's always in it. We know how severe she is. Like, I'd love to know, like, how does she know Luthen? Like, you know, how did she get into being a rebel? Like, what is her backstory? We know we got like a little bit of backstory of the people on Ordani. You know, we got to sort of know each of them, but we don't know her as much.
It feels like a very obvious gap. I think it would be a failing of the writers almost to leave that just hanging, leaving the first story hanging. We don't need the complete story of everybody. Some people work fine with slightly less story, like
even if they kind of get expanded on in the second season. I just think
I've just teased so much about it that implies something so much bigger.
Yeah. Like, she was playing the sort of dutiful shop assistant, and then in subsequent episodes she was basically snapping back at Luthen and reminding him of, you know, the importance of being discreet and what's at stake and stuff like that. And it sort of felt like, yeah, she's deeply serious about stuff. We don't know if she's lost family. We don't know, perhaps, is she ex-Imperial? Like, it's just sort of, yeah, something about her. It's very intriguing. I'd love to know more. I felt like this episode was actually a little light on Andor himself.
Yeah, true.
He was in it a lot, but I sort of felt like the action was more it was more sort of involving other people. I guess because we know his predicament, it was more of a mechanical predicament, like getting
all the chess pieces.
We knew that we basically got to connect the dots. He has to get off the planet. He has to find out about his mother. And he has to basically have a way to get back to Ferrix, which would be getting his money back. I didn't immediately recognize the planet when the two sort of helpful aliens were asking where he wanted to go. I should have twigged that. Oh yeah, of course.
I don't recognize my name. No. They gave establishing shots with the blue pelicans.
And then it was like, oh yes, of course. The first thing he's going to do is go back for his money because he needs that and his weapons. And there was like some sort of like compad or something like that started talking. Or a recording, or like it was playing audio, and he was like, "Oh, quick, turn that off."
One little thing. It struck me that there was nobody relaxing on the beach. I don't know if that's speaks to the. I don't know if that was just filming constraints or if it actually speaks to the impact that the Empire has had.
I think the latter. I think
on basically a resort town.
Yeah, that everyone has been so scared by the Imperial presence that everyone's like, they don't want to be out in public because if you're jogging, the Empire's going to like arrest you for just like running. Yeah. We'll do deconstruction efforts, the first one.
Yep. Just a little bit of space in mind.
Yeah. I do that a bit too.
So deconstruction efforts.
Yeah. No, that was a good point. It just it sort of added to just the bleakness. Because we had seen this being a beautiful sunny resort town with lots of people and it was busy and then when he's there again it just looks abandoned almost. Oh, there's someone here. We'll go.
Oh, whoops. I shot the person I showed.
Oh. I'm just going to beeline for the lockbox. Because it's there.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching the bits and pieces again.
I think I want to watch the whole series before the finale. I know it took me a little bit at the start, as it generally does when you're introduced to a whole new setup, all new characters and stuff like that. And I feel like a second watch through of everything where you sort of like, I know who this character is, I know what their allegiance is. You know, like, we were introduced to Ferrix and a whole host of people, and we recognized Andor. But I feel like, I don't know, the little subtleties, when your brain is, like, you know, putting
I think
learning the
that'd be
basic
cool.
sort of building blocks of the story and the characters, you're going to notice the little nuances and the little subtleties when you know who these characters are a little bit better. Plus, it's just Star Wars, and we always want to watch it again.
Yeah, you don't need a system to watch 12 episodes or 11 episodes before the 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I definitely want to watch, because every time I talk about them like this, I find myself thinking about details that I might not have fully picked up on. This one did take quite a bit of concentration, I found. A lot of the dialogue you really had to monitor closely, and even then, there was a little bit.
Yeah. Not to say it didn't have moments of action, but yes, it was a little bit more.
I just wasn't sure I picked up on every detail that was necessary to fully decode the plot.
But I had a feeling this was going to be a little bit more of the chess episode where you got to move all the pieces into place.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
We've got to somehow get everyone sort of ready to clash in the final episode, because it's never believable when people just sort of accidentally discover the person that they're looking for. You know, that the Imperials are monitoring everything closely. Yeah, that it wouldn't just like be like, I don't know, random.
So yeah, hopefully we'll see some stormtroopers, but I've actually been enjoying seeing other Imperials, Imperial officers and Imperial lady
there was
troopers.
some
really good TIE fighter.
There was a vibe to me, I guess from a costuming perspective, the Black Imperial officers have always felt very sort of original trilogy. Sorry, I just shot in a completely random direction. So it kind of struck me that the Imperial officers on the bridge of the tractor beam Star Destroyer were wearing black. Because historically, we've seen a sort of a lot of them, but not leadership roles. We see the likes of Tarkin and Yularen and that, and they tend to essentially get paler costumes the higher up they go. You know, oh, there's a beam all the way back there. Okay, gonna head this way. So it was kind of fun just seeing classic black Imperial officers on that bridge there. I was almost expecting there to be like some moment where they get like a call, you know, like, oh, we like noticed something, and then they have to like admit that they just botched something.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of black uniformed officers on ferrets as well. So it stood out to me that was black uniformed crew talking to the white uniformed ISB and Deidre's grey uniformed offsider.
Yeah.
The contrast of the different.
I don't know what I want for Deirdre. She's an interesting character. I like, you know, when we met her, she was sort of pitted against some of the other sort of ISB agents and stuff like that, and you're kind of rooting for her. But we've seen how vicious she is, you know, torturing people and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, like, where I feel about her now.
Well,
you know, like, I obviously don't want her to catch Andor, but I don't know what I ultimately hope her character will do, or how she'll.
The series are always interesting to have around. I
mean,
a hero is only as heroic as their, you know, enemy sort of.
Yeah, that's what they have to overcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will do taking the heat.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I think the ISB is really interesting. It's an element of the Empire that we haven't seen, but of course this is essentially you know, a spy series. Andor is basically, you know, he's, you know, as they say, spies, saboteurs, assassins, you know, so it would make sense they were up against basically the spy agency of the Empire.
But I think, I mean, obviously there's retroactively the white uniforms have been deemed to be ISB uniforms, but I think the ISB was kind of established in the sort of West End Games era in the guidebooks there. So different.
Oh, I think it's interesting because
it is an interesting. It's, you know, an intelligence unit is obvious. Requirement, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun to get playing with it.
Well, because traditionally in Star Wars, stormtroopers are the big bad. You know, we've got Vader, we've got Palpatine, and then it's just stormtroopers. You know, the ones with guns coming after you. You know, the army, the military, and stuff like that. And I think it's really interesting seeing the strategy, the sort of the spy games, the manipulation side of the Empire. You know, the stormtroopers are the muscle, the brute force.
Well, it's
the ones in the street
interesting.
keeping people in line, but you know,
Yeah.
it's the Imperial agents that are
It's
actually
interesting
higher up. Because
seeing-
certainly, you know, not to bring up the topic again, but from a costuming perspective, stormtroopers have always been like, you know, the popular one, the cool one to wear, and then you know, Imperial certainly from you know my perspective, I don't have the body type that suits stormtrooper armor well. I'm just short. I know it's never going to work for me, and I like the Imperial officers. I think that they're cool, but they traditionally, you know, they never seem to be quite as cool of a costume as stormtroopers. But I like the vibe of Andor. That these are the guys that are running the show. You know.
Yeah, we're seeing the might of the Empire represented through the intelligence agency rather than just through brute force and superior weaponry. We're seeing them have confidence because of their networking and their ability to influence things at an individual and a regional level.
Mr. Laser.
Yeah. So I like that we're seeing the might of the Empire represented, not just in terms of numbers and weapons.
David says it's like reverse World War II. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's interesting that we're used to seeing sort of very traditional colors and costumes. You know, we saw as Anakin falls to the dark side, his costume progresses from his sort of very tan beige and goes black, and Vader's black. You know, we're not sure if Luke will be tempted by the dark side. We see his costume go from the sort of beige tunic from A New Hope to wearing full black in Return of the Jedi. And Leia is, you know, the hero. She's wearing full white and stuff like that. So we get these really obvious colors. But with the Empire, you know, the colors are a little bit... yeah, certainly with the Imperials, and obviously stormtroopers are white, but it's interesting. And I don't know. I know when I don't want to like speculate too much, but I'm really interesting to see how much from the dark side perspective the Acolyte TV show will be. The taste of the scenes that we're getting of the ISBs and the Empire in this series makes me really want to see a show that's from a dark side perspective. We get it a little bit in some of the prequel scenes where we see like Dooku and Palpatine, you know, and we see them sort of talking, but they're so snippety. I think it'd be really interesting to see it just fully from a dark side or a bad guy perspective. I think it'd be really interesting.
I don't think it's going to have quite the same depth as Andor, but it would be fun if they explore the mindset of the Sith and the Jedi that turns to the Sith or whatever. Where should we talk to next?
Pirated Lockbox.
If we sort of see, if we see that mindset, we see their conflict, you know, not just in a superficial, obvious way.
I mean, I feel like we explore light and dark side choices a lot in some of the Star Wars video games, particularly in this game. It's largely sort of, you know, driven by the choices you make. You can be light side, dark side, depending on how you want your character to play. So it's kind of interesting. What have I got? Oh, that's Republic. Okay, don't worry. I've got the stealth probes showing up. Yeah, I was like, wait, what is this quest? Yeah. Well, we're going to go past him, so I figured.
Oh yeah, that will be.
And I guess I'm just kind of trying to remind myself that even when Andor finishes, we've got other Star Wars titles to look forward to. I mean, Skeleton Crew kind of came from left field, and I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know that much about it at all, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it because it's unknown. Street was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about it to know why I'm looking forward to it just yet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it must. I guess I'm just.
Out of the blue.
I'm intrigued by the idea that something was so well formed and well thought out that there wasn't even basically a development period. Somebody was like, they heard the idea and they're like, yeah, let's do that, and just did it. You know, a lot of these ones, we hear them, they're announced, and this person's attached to write, like Taika Waititi. You know, he's writing something cool. Well, that's all we know. We don't like, you know. Sometimes it makes you wonder when something takes so long to write. And I know that, you know, sometimes when something's that important, you want to make sure you spend a lot of time. And Star Wars is a complicated beast by now. There's a lot to take into account. There's a lot of pre-existing material that needs to be understood. But I like the fact that somebody had thought about this and created something. I'm really looking forward to it, because we've, you know, had a few even Disney doesn't exactly sort of stick to things that they've announced, or, you know, I mean, we just, you know, there's been recent articles coming out that they sort of long talked about new Pirates of the Caribbean movie is basically not going ahead, or at least shelved for now. And unfortunately, we've had that a little bit with Star Wars. We get excited for something and then find that it's been shelved for now. I mean, I was so looking forward to Rogue Squadron, and knowing that it's just gonna. You click the thing in the mission log to click it.
Yeah.
You gotta like make the console.
Just open the Republic lockbox.
Might need to like refresh. I thought it would work for you.
No.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, just respawn. It's visible, but the lighting in there.
Yeah, it makes it glow blue. Yeah. Static.
Yeah, and we talked about a bit about looking for the Bad Batch as well, and then it's not discount that just because it's animated. And,
where am I going? I'm back in the same area.
Yeah, we didn't travel far.
I was just like, what? Oh, we're going to the tunnel over there. Okay. I think most of the time we just walk over here. The quick travel like threw me off. I was like, I don't know where I am.
It took us further away than we
than we were.
This will probably put us in a good position to start of that questing week.
Yeah. Been enjoying the feast event. Looking forward to Life Day. It's fun. Life Days. It wasn't in the game right at the beginning, but it's one of the longer running events that happens sort of around Christmas time in this event.
There's been a few things that I'm looking forward to coming up in this game. The chest here at the moment has some more decorations based on the Book of Boba Fett series. Some Hoshi Station seats and benches and such like, which should be quite useful. I know where
I think I thought this quest was a completely different one. Sorry, I think I'm doing like a quest that I was like, oh, it's this one. Never mind.
Yeah. Let's go. We'll do a couple. We'll get this finished.
Yep.
Even if not, we've got this one's on the planet, so to speak.
Oh no, Hoth's one of the later ones, so there is no really quick ones on Hoth.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one we just did was one of the shortest ones. Everything else is a little bit longer, but. But golly, it feels like forever ago that we were watching the episode with showing Cassian's sort of childhood.
Yeah, Our episode's pretty decent.
Yeah. And I could just watch Diego Luna and his portrayal of Cassian, like, just tons. I was always, like, I didn't know him before. Well, not very well. You know, I've seen him in a few things, but his
I might have seen him in Typical Dead.
Yeah. Well, heard him.
Yeah. Actually, just talking about duration, passage of time, I think in the past week it was the 3rd anniversary of Disney Plus, so basically the 3rd anniversary of Mandalorian. So yes, since you saw that first episode of Mandalorian.
Yeah. Man, time flies, doesn't it? I remember being at Celebration when they did, it was the panel lotteries. And I did get into the big ones, but I was a bit bummed that I didn't get into the Mandalorian series. But in some ways I was like, well, I don't know what that show's about, you know, like really about. So you didn't sort of know what you were missing out on? Obviously, you know, Star Wars, you want to see everything. But it's funny sort of looking back on that now. It's going to be weird. This is one of the first sort of holiday seasons that we don't have the Mandalorian. It's a longer than sort of normal gap. Yeah, we're going to go around here. Oh, there isn't actually a bonus to be killing all the mobs, though.
No.
Hoping it's not too much longer before we get some good Andor merch. I know they've revealed a bunch of TVCs and what is it that I'm trying to do here?
Yeah, I found them.
Oh, there. Okay, now we gotta
you find them,
go
go
down
back.
Here. Hoping for more Funkos, I guess, as well. Because we've got Cassian and B2. That's it, I think.
That's it so far.
Yeah. They're usually the ones that get everything out sort of quick and more extended character selection. When we look at the Obi-Wan series Funkos, they did more characters than Hasbro did.
Apart from the holiday special type ones and the ongoing series like the Power of the Galaxy Woman series, Book of Boba Fett was the most recent sort of Funko announcements, with Luke with Grogu in a backpack and the mayor.
Not Chase?
Domo.
Oh, the Domo,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the giant scene with Grogu.
And the Rancor.
Calming the Rancor, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Mind you, I don't know which specific characters. I guess I want a Mon Mothma pop. That's got to be like, that has to be. Like, I know she's not action-y for action figures, but Funkos are not necessarily about action. They don't need playability or accessories
No.
or whatever. They're just cool characters, which I
There
think
is
is something that
Black
appeals to
Series
me.
Mon Mothma coming out,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Oh, 3. Now we're gonna go unlock everything.
I can't go the other way.
Toombs just can't play dark side. It's funny that some of the quests in this game, it really changes what you have to do. Some of these, it's like if you decide to be dark side, you've got to like do all this extra work, and sometimes it's if you're light side, you got to do all the extra work. This one, we've got to go and kill champions. I'm hoping we see good, I don't know if it's too much to hope for seeing any sort of like Andor series merchandise around for the holiday season, shopping season. Because I know we're probably not likely going to see any of the action figures and stuff like that here locally in New Zealand.
I can't remember what dates they're expecting those.
Hasbro tends to be quite slow. I'm like, they know what these characters look like. They get all the preview stuff from Disney well in advance. I don't know why they don't just sort of get it working ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. Alright, let's go do. Which one do you think's the shortest?
The shortest one is Big Find.
Yeah, we're getting some Black Series figures, and there's been a couple of TVC 4-inch figures, 375-inch figures announced from Andor, but I don't anybody else from really expecting.
But I like some of the sort of random merchandise that we find.
Yeah.
Like the pins and the keychains and t-shirts and just sort of like, you know, just random merchandising.
I'm trying to think. Unlike some of the other series, there's no big Black Series helmet.
No.
Or anything like that.
No, yeah. And I don't know. We haven't seen Black Series really tackle blasters. And I don't know if that's a Disney thing. They don't like making things that look like guns. They changed all the bubble guns to yeah, that's true.
And they've been doing them for a bunch of other, like they did a bunch of Star Trek ones. And
because they're very clearly like toys.
Pulse rifle, yeah. They look in good shape, but they're the one, bright colours.
Yeah.
I guess still hopeful of a few ships in the Micro Galaxy Squadron.
Yes, yeah, Luthen Rail's ship would be really cool.
Yeah, and now I don't think we're going to get anything.
TIE Reaper?
What's that?
TIE Reaper? Yeah, I don't think we'd get the Star Destroyer as cool as it is. Even Hasbro, I don't think would do anything like that. I don't know. Would Lego? I don't know. I feel like the scale would be quite big.
Yeah,
Hot Wheels could do it.
Well, Hot Wheels have already done. I want to pick up that wave of concept vehicles from Hot Wheels. They're very small scale, but very just cool to have the representation of those vehicles.
But yeah, we could get like, I know the quad jumper's not original to Andor, but that would be fun to see in the Micro Galaxy Squadron line, and the Reaper, because we've seen that a second time now. I always thought it was a really cool ship. There were lots of good TIE Fighter designs over the years, but that one sort of stuck out as a very cool one. We haven't seen, my brain wants to say that we haven't seen as many Imperial landcraft in Andor. I guess, I don't know if they're just sort of like keeping everything very measured, like sort of like the Shark and Jaws effect, not showing everything too soon. We're getting a few TIE fighters, we're getting a few stormtroopers, but nothing sort of too big and obvious, you know.
No, I think season 2 of Andor is going to feel completely different. I feel like the series is going to feel so much closer to the original trilogy. The contrast will be interesting, and I think it'll be impactful.
Yeah. But I like that they haven't used stormtroopers to, I don't know, not like a crutch, but you know, like too obviously. I think it's refreshing. We know that this is in the era of classic stormtroopers. We know that fans always love to see stormtroopers, but if you just start putting them everywhere, it's kind of like they lose the impact. They're supposed to be very sinister and scary and threatening, you know, for regular people in this time period. So you think that they just wouldn't be like everywhere. Oh, hit. One more.
Should be some nice ones available.
Yeah, the one up on the left. See if Lana can get that crystal without getting the mob. Nice tidy circuit. Very good. And don't need the other ones, do we?
Not now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a little Hoth on there.
Yeah. I think that's the one I thought I got muddled up with, the other one.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I'm going to go to my SWTOR house.
Yep.
So that I'm all ready to do some Feast of Prosperity tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll sign off at this point. Probably go back and watch it one more time, I think. Makes for like evening local time, but not as late as some parts of the globe.
I want to see, what was it called? Game?
What's that?
What was it called? Personnel.
Your pit boss.
Yeah. Champions?
Yeah, I'm about to test them.
Yeah. I've got too many here. Okay, I can't remember what was it. Started with G, didn't it?
That's game pit boss.
Yeah, he's got his assault cannon out. Oh, that's quite cool.
Yeah. I thought it might.
It's cool gear too, the character's wearing, because I think that's the one with the cool jacket. Oh, get out of the way, Lana. Come on over here. Thank you all. The dice. I want the jacket. I gotta give it to a smuggler or something like that, because it dyes up quite well. I think the back pattern doesn't dye, but the jacket itself does. It's quite fun being able to sort of put the NPC down as a decoration so I can inspect the gear.
Yeah.
It's not a bad assault cannon either. Oh, Lana, get out of the way. That's quite a bright colour. It's very cool. So yeah, I guess we're going to call it there for tonight. So we can go watch it again.
Yeah,
and we'll be back possibly this week, but we'll definitely be here again, same time, to talk about the finale of Andor. I can't believe we're up to the finale already. Super excited for it though, but at the same time, you know, it's going to be a while before we get more live action Star Wars episodes. So I guess that's it for now. A big thank you to everyone that came along to hear us talk about the most recent episode of Star Wars. I know these are a little bit rambly, but we just sort of get our thoughts out there. Thanks so much to you guys that are just watching, those of you that have been posting in chat. We do really appreciate you taking your time to listen to us talk about Star Wars. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you guys have a great week, and it's just been so exciting watching Andor, and I can't wait for the conclusion of the episode in less than 7 days now. So catch you guys next time. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks for signing in. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.